Hey, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm the man here that does all of the cooking wood. We'll get into a little bit of bite down boxing talk, as well as some other sports topics. My city was on the news at the top of the yesterday and Sunday. Dayton, Ohio. Nearby was the mass shooting in that downtown area called the Oregon District. It's kind of everybody in this area. It's probably how your entrance into nightlife in the city, especially for college crowds, suburban teens and whatnot. That's probably how you get into you get introduced to nightlife around here. So I'm not going to go into it too deeply. It's pretty heroic what the police officers did. That young man was capable of doing some serious some serious damage. He did quite a bit of damage in just the 20-something seconds that he was that he started into firing on people. So tough situation, man. Tough situation, as well as the situation in El Paso. That's all I really want to speak on that. But anyway, that's kind of why I've been dormant a couple of days, kind of processing that whole situation. Football. A lot of camps going on. Actually, I realized that the Redskins, my personal team, will be here playing the Cleveland Browns Thursday night. I won't be able to make it. That's too far of a trip to make on a weeknight for me. That's at the opposite, at the top of the state. I'm down here in the southeast. But one topic that I want to touch on was the fact that some people were disappointed in the fact that that Haskins, the rookie quarterback, has started on the depth chart that was released. He's at QB3 behind Colt McCoy and Case Keenum. And, sometimes, man, we got to let people who have these jobs do these jobs and call the shots on this stuff. It's not the end of the world. The guy had very limited starts, at the Ohio State University, where he had a phenomenal season, 50 touchdowns through the air. The kid, in my opinion, there's no need to run out here and rush and do anything with him. The one feather in the cap of the team is that they have the kid. Now, you do want to take advantage of those cost-friendly years, those cap-friendly years, and with him being outside of the top 5 picks, the top 10 picks, I believe they have the 4 years and then the 5th year option or something, I think is how it breaks down. But honestly, a lot of other parts on the team are kind of in transition. And a lot of the big money from the salary cap is actually tied up in the quarterback position versus the Redskins having an excellent wide receiver one, an all-pro guy out there or a top 10 guy out there. We don't have that. The running back situation, we don't know what Darius Geis does this year. But he's a guy, he could be part of the solution moving forward. You really don't know what AP is going to provide this year or what his production is going to be. We still have Vernon Davis at tight end. Second, I think he's TE2 or something. But then you also, Jordan Reed is a guy who's at times looked like a top 3 tight end. But there's always, injury issues with him. Right now, left tackle is uncertain with Williams, with Trent Williams. So, and then we have a coach who we're not even confident if that's the guy we want to move forward with Haskins. So, in my opinion, and then you have recent history just showed us what could be done with the Mahomes situation, with him only starting one game in his first year. coming off at least 2 seasons starting at Texas Tech. I can never say that name now since they had to run back in March Madness, but Texas Tech. So, yeah, I'm kind of good with it. It's no sense in not letting him earn it. Maybe it gets a chip on his shoulder. He is a pocket quarterback, great arm, all, good size, everything we could want. But again, I'm hoping that if he just proves that his upside is so great that he deserves to start come week 1, then so be it. But if it takes 5, what I just don't want to see is, and we open up tough. What I don't want to see is they're 2-6, at the halfway point, or 1-5 or something, and it's like, let's throw him in there because we need attendance. Let's make it football decisions and get him in there in a timely manner. And let's make sure that he's holding his own in practice. That he can stay safe on the field in case we don't get Williams back into the fold. Another thing is, like I said, the wide receiver situation hasn't been squared away. Is this a situation where, kind of similar to Donovan McNabb, where for the bulk of his career, he just had an assortment, he had a wide receiving core that got it done. They just platooned it and got it done collectively. And maybe one guy would have a good season every other year, or, Freddie FedEx and James Thrash and, until they got Deshaun Jackson in the 1 year with T.O. That's kind of the next thing, is we need to have one of those, a young back, if guys can become that guy, and then we need to get that number one wide receiver out there. And in all likelihood, Josh Doxson might not be with the team after this year. He probably wants to go and try to get paid and convince somebody else to cash him out and everything. So we'll see. But again, it's not the end of the world if he's not starting week 1. It's just not. Look, man, I've tried to talk about this PBC card from last week multiple times. And the program that I kept, I tried to do a preview last week. I've done 2 recap videos. And I had to scratch both of them because they ended up coming out. The software was jacked, or the app that I used was jacked up, and couldn't post it. The audio was great, and I started to just post it anyway, but the video looked terrible. But look, man, shout out to Jean Pascal for a gutsy upset to win that interim title. He looked like Barry Bonds out there. He found out through the first couple of rounds that he couldn't find Brown with his right hand, with that southpaw, fighting the southpaw in Brown. He didn't have the agility and the timing going forward. He couldn't find him with it. So Brown's impatience and, discomfort and just trying to box his way out, much like the way that Bivol did. Again, Pascal is just kind of sitting there looking for great pitches. It was a couple of rounds. He never landed more than 2 double digits in any of the rounds. I want to say one of the rounds they only scored him with like 2 punches. But he was making them count when he did get contact. And he gets the 8th round, the technical decision, and edges it out. The 3 knockdowns, some beautiful right hands that he caught Brown with, put him on his back, knocked him flat out or knocked him flat down, onto his back. I saw Brown, wants the rematch. I don't know, man. I don't want to write him off, but it just seems like that might be a big momentum breaker for him. I asked this in the preview video, and I guess now I look good not getting the question out there, but why was there never any talk about Brown needing to go across the street or change up who he's with in order to get into the championship picture? Because this is kind of there doesn't seem to be any real plan forward for him. No, there didn't seem to be a final plan for him. And with the out of the ring issues that he has, he just seems like a guy who could eventually get himself into some trouble and lose focus. And I just wonder if, things aren't in a bit of disarray for the young man. That's kind of my opinion on that. Going into that to the heavyweight match, the main event, record-breaking performance by Chris Arreola in terms of single punches thrown by a single fighter, and then combining for the most punches thrown in a heavyweight fight ever. Which is crazy that he threw the 11-25, I believe was his total, but still was outlanded, by a good 25 or 30 punches by the babyface assassin. And then what's also is amazing is the fact that Arreola became single-handed for different parts of the fight after he hurt his left hand there in the 5th. Good fight, man. I don't want to besmirch the effort of Adam Kownacki and whatever you might have in terms of his trajectory as he moves forward and gets himself into the championship picture, the contender picture. I just don't see his matchup with Deontay Wilder is not one that's intriguing for me. He's a sitting target, not quick enough, in my opinion, to get inside. Chris Arreola was having good success inside when he could use his left hand. He was dropping that short left hook inside, catching him good. Earlier in the fight. Another successful punch that Arreola was having was that quick step to the left and that hook to the left hook to the body was, both of those went away after the 5th round. He did still throw the left hand at times, but it never was effective. He never landed that. I don't think he ever really landed that short inside left hook as with as much conviction, with as much sauce on it as possible. And I give him credit, man. He stepped out of he stepped away a couple of times, shook his hands. I thought he was having problems with both hands, but they've only mentioned the left hand. And he just looked like a guy, I'm 38 years old. This was the last hurrah in many ways. I got everything on the line here, and my body has failed me. My two weapons, or my one weapon is my setup weapon is gone, and I don't have enough power to get this guy out of here. That is one thing about Kownacki. He has a pretty solid chin. But again, by and large, his defense is pretty much his offense and his volume. And, he could do some different things in a matchup with Deontay Wilder. And get this straight. I'm not suggesting that he doesn't even deserve to be in the ring with Deontay Wilder. I think if he continues to win and he positions himself, you look around and he's the guy that's in that slot, then he should get that fight. But I like I said, I just don't see his best day against Wilder's. And that's the thing with Wilder's game plan, with his strategy. I think Wilder's always going to have a great chance against him in any situation. That's just how I see it. But I think it was a good fight for fight fans and for anybody who's, a Fox Sports fan who may have tuned in and saw some of the ads on FS1 or on Fox, FS1. And if they tuned in, they saw two guys go at it, and the resilience, and the grit of Arreola to finish the fight. I thought, the cards were a little wide, in my opinion. Uh, but ringside, looking at it, I could see that, a lot of the rounds, Kownacki was landing the more effective punches, and he was outlanding. So I guess I could see it being that wide. And if you're in there looking at it, looking up at it, maybe you can clearly distinguish these rounds, and maybe the same guy racks up a bunch of rounds, but it's a close looking fight still. But like I said, Arreola just couldn't really hurt Kownacki to get that big moment that he may have needed to truly rally and show some. And you can see it in Goossens' exchanges with him in between corners that he was doing good and doing great at times, but just didn't have a true difference maker to truly turn it around in his favor. And like I said, especially losing the use of that left hand and not having the same effectiveness in rounds 7, 8, 9, and then going into those championship rounds, man, that's a major difference. And you could even see him sometimes, he was doubling up with the right hand in some weird punches, having to resort to some different looking punching combinations just because he was just trying to make contact. That's about it, man. Kownacki, like I said, good win, good name, good resume. It's a mutual opponent with Deontay Wilder. He's a guy, good turnout, Polish community, Polish Americans showed up and showed out, and we will see what happens. I have not checked out that Mick Conlan fight yet. Maybe I'll get around to it. You know that you probably heard that the Leah Course Center fight is moving on without Carl Frampton being in the main event, as a freakish accident where some concrete ornament in the hotel that he was staying at, something fell off the wall, fell on his hand, and broke a couple of bones. And, when you see an international guy over here come over here and spend a few weeks to get acclimated to, the time difference and whatnot, and, lodging, food, and all of that stuff, being away from family, that's a pretty costly accident. And not to go through with it on fight night. You got fans who were traveling to come check him out. That's just a bad, look 360, and it's unintentional. So it's part of the game. But let me get on off of here, man. I'm not a big fan of the whole hashtag thing with Dayton Strong and so on and so forth, man. But the city has to regroup, and one cold thing about life, and living is that the world don't stop. So peace. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Bite down boxing. Don't ever let them count you out.